Okay, everybody, we are switching over to Digital Creative Framework. Now, we're not going to pull up the game ourselves here. We're going to go ahead and remote connect into Orange's, not remote connect, sorry. Orange is going to share a screen on Discord on from there, and we're going to go over some of the dev things and so forth. And he wanted to talk about some of the features and so forth. So, hey, Orange, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Tired. I finished the 20-hour stream last night. Took a
Yeah,
2 hour
I
nap and I'm
I
back.
I debate on our Thursday sessions because I know that you're always doing those marathon streams before, so I get the tired wizard.
Well, no, actually, so it's like a 2 day effect. So you don't always get the tired wizard on Thursdays. It would be the tired wizard from that part would then be Friday. It's like
Right.
I'd be maybe on somewhat of an autopilot Thursday, but then. But it's hit or miss because other times then I'm hyper as can be on Friday because I drank my coffee.
Yeah, that's true. Well, like I say, it's hit or miss with me all the time, so it doesn't really matter.
Well,
So,
for
I'm
oh, go
I'm
ahead.
noticing I can't stream to the channel, so I need to.
Not a problem. I just have to bump us up to the other one. I was going to ask you on that because I forgot if it's a security thing on this one that I needed to change. So let's bump
No
us
problems.
up. Okay. And then in that case, we're going to blow this up like that. All right. That good? Now I don't hear any sound from yours.
Yeah, you probably there's not any real sound going on. There's an eagle sound that when he takes
Okay.
off, but
All
so
right.
we're good.
Yep, we're good. Go for it. Sorry.
All right. So last time you talked in the game that you were playing around and you said, "Hey, you know what it really needs is the ability to fly." So this flying pack is what I've added this week. It's in the game already now. There's no interaction with it yet, so we need to get that going before it'll start to work. But basically, what this pack allows is each one of these devices that I'm flying by has a different flying style. So what this does is really we're going to add to the game. In fact, one of my favorites is this guy, which I'm really hoping to mess with. Is there's a jetpack, and this is a great way that we could have a jetpack item in the game, and then you could use that to fly around and stuff like that. So
Cool.
so in that case, that's how Unreal works, right? Is I can buy these packs, and then these packs I can then import into the DCF framework, and then you get all the abilities of this pack. Okay, and so what I wanted to show is kind of also with like right now we have flying, but then also I have this really cool FX pack. So I have lots of these packs, right? Where there's different explosions. So one of the things that we talked about is that the explosion for the C4 and the grenade are the same in the game. And what we want to do is be able to swap those out. But what I really want to do is be able to give people elemental things in Niagara, which is the effects
Mm-hmm.
system in Unreal, and then you'd be able to kind of build your own explosions basically, to go into the game, and then you could save those, right, you could save those in the workshop so that everybody could use them as well, so the same way. So you can see as these kind of load in, and it's a little slow because my graphics card is being a pig, but you can see that each one of these is kind of a different explosion effect type of thing that can be used in the game. And like I say, I have hundreds of these packs where you can have
Only
tons of
hundreds?
each one. It's nuts. It really is. So I got into Unreal 4 years ago, and every week they put out a free pack on their system, which is kind of, it's counterintuitive to me because it's just giving away the farm in my opinion. But Anyway, so I've been doing this for 3 years, so you can see how many different packs I've picked up
Hmm.
over the years. And there's just anything you can think of, from helicopters to buildings to materials to bridge sets. Like that bridge set's really cool. Eventually, that's going to be like the basis of when you build a bridge in the world. Then you'll take a template from one of these and use a spline builder.
Hmm.
Um, but you can see that it's just endless, and there's more and more and more stuff. There's horseback riding that I can add, there's skateboarding, there's just all these different packs that I've picked up over time. And I kind of wanted to show that we can take any of these elements, and the way that Epic has this set up is these things are free to use. So any of these elements that you see here, you could say, okay, well, I really like that fire, we want to put that in there. We'd be able to pull that straight into the game. And I'm looking into even making it so that when these workshop editions come in, that they'll
Hmm.
go in as workshop editions. But basically, yeah, you can, as you can see, this is a fire pack, so you can, you know, we could set. So, like I say, it's what I wanted to kind of really illustrate with this is that we have like a ton of options on where we go in the future with DCF and what
Yeah.
kind of things we add to it. And so that's more. I wanted to kind of give that impression. So
It can be so unlimited.
it really can, and each one of these things can also be like super customized, right? But like I can go like, okay, so on the flying pack, you probably saw that there was a dragon, and now that dragon isn't very cool, but this dragon over here, this dragon's quite cool. And so what my plan is to swap out that dragon that you saw in the DCF, and he'll
Hmm.
be this guy, and he'll be able to you know, do all the different things, all these different animations you'll basically be able to trigger off. So
Watch
in
out, we got
DC,
dragon fans over here. They're like, I want a dragon game now. Where's my dragon game?
but that's it. Is with DCF, be able to take over the dragon and go attack your friends' villages in their world or whatever, if you have access to the dragon in that world, right? And
Yeah.
and then you could also then go in and change all the materials so you can customize the dragon to whatever you want it to be as well. And so that's kind of the concept behind the whole thing, is that we can do that with all sorts of there's all sorts of different creatures in this pack, but I've got ones with human creatures like wolves and
Yeah.
mountain lions and things like that too. So it doesn't stop, and stylized creatures. So eventually you'll have enemies in the game that you'll be able to drop into the world and things like that. And that was my big thing for this session, is I really just kind of wanted to show like um, we've got we've kind of got to a point now where it's like, okay, now we're gonna start to nail some of the bugs, and I'm kind of I'm hesitant to say it, but I've been doing some stuff with the ragdoll, and it looks like that problem might be fixed. And
Might.
I hate saying
Yeah.
100%, you know that. But yeah, so tomorrow it'll probably we'll probably have it where that comes out. But like I say, you can see already the plane system's already in the game. So now right now I just need to get it so that we can interact with it, and that's it. But this is already a compiled version of the game, and that's so you got the dragon over here, you got a helicopter, you've got drone, you've got jetpack, flying car, jetpack that's attachable, and then the eagle, and there's a
See what
duck
you're
too.
doing. See what you're doing. You're saying these random things, and now all of a sudden I'm like, oh, what about a spaceship?
Yeah. So let me show you.
Come on, I
So
want
my
to.
thought.
I want to build a whole space launching thing now. We need to launch that rocket into space.
Right. Well, and okay. So if
Just kidding.
you look right here, oh, where is it? It's yeah, there you go. So this I already have as a pack, and so you can create a spaceship. So once the flying system's in, I'll
Yeah.
probably attach this to the jet physics.
Cool.
and you'll be able to make your own spaceship in the game.
And then of
So
course you need to calculate on
that's
speed. Oh,
how
sorry.
that's how fast that extrapolates, right?
Yeah.
That's 2 weeks of work, and we'll have that fully in there where you can have a fully customizable spaceship system in
Yeah.
the game.
Then you'll have to
It
calculate the speed of the vehicle and stuff like that, the speed of the aircrafts based on the size of the map and stuff.
Sure, or it would be more so that it's going to be settable by the player. So
Hmm.
in that world, if they want their spaceships to be kind of transport, and go very slow around, they can do that. Or if they want to have dogfights, they would be able to set up the speed wherever they want.
So here's where the question is. You're saying about adding in all these the options to add in all these items and so forth. In order to see this into the game, is it something like an item that you have to add in yourself as the developer of the game first to put in there, or can we just import it ourselves and put a whole nother code on it or so forth?
Well, so the overall idea is that eventually you'd be able to kind of take these things yourself and put them in yourself.
Hmm.
It's not the idea is, so every time I build a system in the game, I'm building the system so that all the options that I have here in this spot, in this chair, I'm trying to pass on to the player.
Okay.
So in the case of, the idea is that, like, right now all of these ships are customizable, but probably not at runtime, right?
Hmm.
So you probably have to do these in the editor. But what I can do is build the runtime. That's what I've become really good at, is building the ability to make runtime changes to these things that are modular. So Unreal is set up on a modular base anyway, and so you can swap things out very easily at runtime. It's just that most games, it does that not really behoove them to do that because they're making money off of it in a different way. Whereas with DCF, because we're trying to open everything all the time and pushing everything open, then we're just trying to give you all the options as opposed to, but so so in that sense, it's that importer. Actually, there's the importer plug right there. But
Importer.
basically,
Yeah.
that where you go, eventually you would be able to take the models from these packs, which are generally FBX, or you could export them out as XBX and put them in as a mod. So if I didn't put that particular style in, you could come back and put that style in on your own, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
And so,
Like,
okay.
eventually you would be able to come into one of these Japanese architecture packs, and you would be able to take all the materials and all of that and push it into DCF as a player, is the idea.
And the building structure right now, as far as houses and so forth is concerned, from what we saw when we last streamed, is just basic at the moment, but it can be a lot more things added into it and so forth, correct? Or did we miss out on some of the
Yeah.
building stuff?
So no, 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 no. There is the building is kind of that basic three-tiered building right now, but yeah, we
Okay.
definitely want to add to it. Now, there has been some talk between me and the AI over the last week of what does the survival game actually add to the game, because I've noticed, and the AI has noticed, that we've disabled a lot of the features of the survival game to kind of make the play more open. So the survival game is all about kind of resource restriction and
Yeah.
that kind of thing, and that's the exact opposite of what we're doing. So we've been kind of playing around with the idea of, what if we took the survival game out and then just put, like, it made it so that you don't craft, you just make things appear. So the menus now are not going to be like, oh, you got to go here and craft this and have it in your inventory or whatever. It would be just, you have these abilities to make things like a terraformer, like a building, like this, like that. Because the game is supposed to be so open,
Hmm.
we're wondering if maybe that the survival game is adding limitations, that and bugs, to be honest, because it's got a motion system in it, it's got, a gun system in it, all of these different things that I'm not 100% sure are the best feel of it, right? When you hit that tab it seemed like last week when you were playing it and you were tabbing around in the build system and stuff, that's
Yeah.
where the confusion started to come in. So we're kind of thinking, what if you could just like turn on the terraformer and start terraforming, and then turn on the builder and start building, and none of the crafting stuff in the middle. So that's kind of the thought right now. And
As
then
far as not crafting the item to then do the terraformer, just having the terraformer.
just having the terraformer, right?
Huh.
And then being able to drop the bike in if you want the bike in, or if you don't want the bike in and want, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what if we made it like a more modular system, so you don't have to necessarily go and craft the things and stuff like that. So it's right now that's kind of a thought. And also Unreal 5.5.4 came out this week, which are in the last couple weeks. So we've been
Mhm.
looking at that too. Really want to get to a point where we're pull it off, or at least adding to the Ready Player Me system, which is the current character customizer, and going to a metahuman system, which will give us a lot more flexibility, and the players, a lot more flexibility as well. So we really kind of want to move towards that. So yeah, it's kind of, and the idea of, oh well, we could take a survival game template, or take the survival game template out and then put in the like shooter game template. Like, there's in Unreal, there's one called Lyra. Let me see if I can pull that
So,
up really quick and show
so
you,
at
but
what point
basically.
would you consider so the more I look at this and the more I play it myself and stuff like that as well, I wonder as far as the game itself, but between separating the game itself and the creation part, but yet the game itself is the creation part. I mean, I was wondering when we first saw this game, why do we have the creation while you're on the server rather than separate where you're creating it? Uh, at least the the what's the word I'm missing? The land wise,
The terraforming.
at least the terraforming
Yeah.
uh,
So
outside of the game rather than on the game. Then once that's there, then together you put all the items and stuff to that part and be able to add in the vehicles and stuff like that, and vehicles actually spawn in it on the server and all that stuff, and then you have the game part of it on there.
So, so it's okay. So yeah, I'm kind of, again, I'm kind of playing around with that too. So if,
Hmm.
and I'll send you a copy of this. This is my first game called Creative Continents.
Okay.
This one is set up exactly the way you just said. You have a terraforming mode or creative mode, and you're in a drone and nowhere near the ground, and you can create your own map the same way that you could in digital creative framework. The difference here is that it was set up as a map builder, and then you could jump in and do a survival game on top of it.
Mm.
They weren't mixed. So I have thought, well, what we could do is just kind of jack the creative mode. I mean, the big idea for DCF was to combine them, right?
Yeah.
And so now what I'd like to do is that when you're in create, or when you're in play mode, that you throw a drone up and then it becomes the creative mode. But what I can do in the interim is, and I'll send you a copy of this game, Creative Continents.
Okay.
But basically, this one, you can raise ground from the drone, and then you save it, and you're done with the map building, and then you can go back in and build on it and play and do whatever. And so I think that what the idea is that what we could do is offer where Digital Creative Framework has a mode where you go over your map in the drone and you can just do terraforming. And then you can flip back to your other mode, and then you'll still have the terraformer in there, so you can still change things. But now you have that other perspective that's immediately added.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking into getting that done, probably in not this update, but next week's update.
And
So
games
you'll at
are
least have a
oh,
mode.
and games are okay to be different and everything on it from that part. My only concern is as far as when you're in a hosted server and you have someone else in there. uh, as far as from what we know, just that terrain part that you add in there, the other person can't see. So if
Hmm.
the other person could see it and they could also do the terraforming with you, then that's one thing. But if they can't see it at all, then my question is why have that in the hosted server as the ability to even do the terrain stuff uh, in the hosted
Um,
server at that part?
Well, the biggest reason for that is when you're building and you want, like, you're building a big castle or something like that, you
Yeah,
might want to smooth out the land or change it so that you don't have a tree in your way or something like that. So it's more about, it was always about more small tweaks
yeah,
to me. But like I say, to me, it's like I can go in that hosted and click on LAN, and it's a private game, and then I flip into terrain mode, and I just build in terrain mode. But that's just a mental thing that I'm doing,
yeah.
right? But I see where people are saying, we if we could have the drone back, because, and I wish I would have had this installed. I wish I would have got this done, but it's
But if we can actually
we
build at the
we're
same
trying.
time and use that terrain tool from that part, the terraforming part at the same time, and we can both see it live as we do it, almost like how when you're building stuff in Minecraft and other games from that part, but you're not adding the terrain wise, you're just actually digging and all that stuff. But you are adding stuff, but you're adding it with all the other tools and utilities wise. What is it that's stopping you from being able to have it where we could actually both do that at the same time on the hosted game instead of having to then reload the map after we make the change? If let's say all of a sudden we built that one island, but we did it on our own, maybe we wanted help to be able to shape one part, like one person work on the cave while the other one's working on the outside wise. Can we not do that together at this time with that terraforming tool?
Yeah, no, unfortunately, the terraforming tool is shifting large amounts of data in the
Yeah.
map layout, and so the problem is that that data, if you try to transfer that across to a game connection, it's going to crash out everything. So, and
Okay.
and and on top of that, the voxel system that we use, which is voxel 1.2, they're hmm, how do I put this? They're very egotistical about what they've got there, and they think it's very good, and there's a lot of problems with it that they're kind of unwilling to address. 3 years ago, when I first started with Voxel, they said, "Oh, in December we're going to release 2.0," and it's been 3 years, and 2.0 is still not out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they have it, but and they play around with it like it's really cool and stuff, but it seems like to me that it hasn't added much. So in that sense, no, you can't. That you're right in the fact that you're not really able um, to sync that up because there's so much data that would go back and forth to be able to do that. So that's really what it comes down to in brass taxes.
So
That
let's say
that's
I
why.
yeah, let's say I have a group of 5 people that want to build a map together, right? But we can't do it at the same time while it's loaded up on that screen. And you can't all modify it, changes on it because it won't just upload to that one map from there. You'll have issues with the changes. So let's say we assign this person this day to update this person this day. Could you have something like that? So the only way to do that right now would be that person to download that map, make the change, and then upload their own version of it on there. Then someone else would have to subscribe to it to pull that data, and then make a change, and then resend it out there. Is that the only way to do so, as far as if someone wants to work together of building certain parts of the map?
Yeah, so basically you would make your updates, put them on workshop, the person would subscribe to your updates and then make their updates and then put it on workshop and then you would subscribe to their
You'd
updates
have to
and
keep
go back
pulling
and
it back
forth
and
that
forth.
way.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, you eventually do wind up with a map that's been worked on by both people, right? It just
Yeah.
can't be done at the same time.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, the upload, I know that's kind of clunky right now, but the upload really is coming down to you'll have the ability to upload the map and that number. is basically, what identifies it, so you can re-upload over the same map. So
Hmm.
basically you upload your copy, they pull that, and they're already subscribed to it, they get it updated automatically. So it's not like they're going to have to go in and out. They're going to go, oh, I'm going to work on your map, and you say, yeah, my changes are up there, and they go in, they don't have to go to the like workshop and update anything. They just go into the game, click on your map, start messing with it, and save it, and then upload it and say, okay, my map's updated. Do you get how that would go back and forth?
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's not too foreboding, I don't think. I mean, I may be wrong.
Well, at some points people would want to, just like how they have in work environments where anyone can update the network file and so forth, but then it's still locked to a certain point. If two are trying to update at the same time, it may override each other or something. And
Well,
yeah,
and that's how I kind of have it set up, because you can't overwrite a workshop file unless it's
yeah, it's a
yours.
separate
So
file.
you
Yeah.
wouldn't, right? So you have, and you
Can
can
you give
have as many
permission for
worlds
someone
up on
to?
workshop. I have not seen an ability to do that, no,
Okay, I'll look into
because
that some
that's
more as well,
handled by
just to
Steam
confirm wise. But
Workshop.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Steam Workshop doesn't seem to. I mean, like I can put people on my development account, but then
Well,
they
no.
get
So,
access
so
to
I
the
mean,
log.
like, let's say, I mean, like, let's say if I put my one map out there on the workshop, but I want someone else to be able to override that file and add on to it from that part as well.
Right.
I want to give
Yeah.
an admin permission for that. That's when I'm asking whether or not there's rights on it from that part. I'm not asking anything additional from you. I'm asking specifically on the workshop part for Steam, which I can look that up and provide in Discord for everybody as well.
Yeah, as far as I know, that is not. I have not seen an option for it. It's not something.
Okay.
Again, because multiplayer hasn't been my focus.
Yeah.
It's not something that I've been super into. But yeah, it definitely would be an option. So
And you're still sharing the screen.
yeah, I know. I'm trying to
Okay.
get this game down. I wanted to show you really quick, if I could,
Okay.
the drone mode. I think if you see this, you're going to be like, yeah, you need to put that in right away. So.
Well, I know you've been
Um,
talking about that drone mode as well.
Yeah, and like I say, I thought, well, we'll just put it into the gameplay, which is eventually where it's going to go, right? But
Yeah.
if you wanted a separate mode, I can provide that pretty quickly for you, and that separate mode could be you'll see that it's a little bit this because just because it's how it's laid out, it's a little bit easier to kind of move around and figure out where you're going with it. So we're almost there, so we'll see if we make it here. I don't want to hold you guys too long. I really have to do some yard work today, but
Hey, don't
um,
say that because then it reminds me of me having to go out to mow and because my son ain't doing
mm,
it.
yeah. I think that's one of my kids' favorite things, that when he moved out, that he doesn't have to do the lawn anymore. But yeah, you can kind of see as I'm going through here that there's just tons of stuff, and like the easy build system is another one we could just smack in. So, like I say, we're kind of back to that idea of, well, could we just take out the survival game? Is it more complicated to have the survival game in there than less? And so that becomes part of it. So, because we can definitely do cars and boats, and all of that stuff's already in the game, even without the survival game. The only thing that the survival game gives us is kind of an overall game structure that
Yeah.
we can get from some other things now too, especially in, like, if we go to,
Because gamers are going to want to be able to create their own maps and environments, and then even put on game types and gameplays and so forth on it to then be able to share with their friends as well from that part and actually play on it. And
right,
so the problem with that is I think this is so open on what to do rather than being focused wise, and I think you're finally starting to get to the point to where you want it to be more stable and everything else, and just limit it some more and then expand out if you need to from that part. But we're talking about so many different things, like, hey, I want to fly, hey, I want to do this, hey, I want to touch the sky. I mean,
yeah. Yeah, and I hate to say Yeah, I suppose that that's been a huge problem for me is that I don't want to like limit anybody and say,
Yeah.
oh, we shouldn't do that or you shouldn't do that or whatever. I want it to be that you do all of it. So let me just see if I can get this to pop open here for you. We're on here. Okay. All right. So, okay. So in this one, you have host a continent and visit a continent like you did
Okay.
before, but here you have terraforming mode. So I'll go into here, and
So this is
so
Creative
now you
Continents
can
and it's on
see.
Steam.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's like $5 or $6 right now. But you can see, so same terraformer, right? But
Yeah.
now it's a little bit more. Right. And
But you're using the
you
drone
know,
to be able to do it instead, and then that's where it's like, well, why
right.
didn't you put it in the other game?
Well, because again, it's the mixing of the two. So right,
Yeah.
if I go out to the main menu on this, and if I go to host a continent, which is done the same way, that okay, um,
So in hosting
I
a
have
continent, what's the
I
same
have
thing on
no
this?
I have no ability to terraform at
Uh-huh.
this point,
Okay.
right? Like I can build, I can do all the stuff that we had in crafting before and stuff like that. It's a little more generic in this game, but it's and a little bit more template based. But yeah, it's the same thing except now I can't and yeah, the cars in this game, like if you go, so yeah, I actually have
So this is
bike
like
this.
the prequel to it, or the real
Yeah, it
alpha
was the
of it.
first concept. This is the first kind of concept of what I wanted to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
This is the more human built one. DCF is more the AI constructed one. But yeah, you can see that it's kind of the same thing, except that now we are truly separated when you want to create a world as opposed to, um, you know, so like, and you can see it's got more terrain types and stuff because these
Mm-hmm.
terrain types were never meant to be customizable. So the ones in DCF, you'll be able to customize and have whatever terrain you want. But in this one, it's built to be locked down.
Okay.
But there's 50, so it's got a few more than the other one. But yeah, still kind of works the same, still can dig under stuff and move stuff around. You've got the different, so you've got square here like you did before, but it's still kind of hokey. You've got actually in creative continents, you've got sphere too, so you can actually do round stuff.
Yeah, I was
And then
wondering
you've
about that with the current game, if you can actually make like cylinder type stuff to be able to make tunnels
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So
without having to
these
carve
these
through it or so
these
forth.
brushes are actually created from a static mesh. So eventually we'd be able to have it so that the players would be able to load their own brushes in.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have all these other games now where even these crafting games, they have the ability to go in and shape things like triangles or cylinders or squares or just all sorts of different shapes, and then even hollow items and stuff like that. I mean, it's so like one of the things I was wanting to do, that I'll have to do by holding shift and using the tool to make the tunnels and stuff, is making tunnels in the caves, or just like
Mm-hmm.
making a entire solid terrain really large, and then just start making tunnels through it, that you could then either drive a vehicle through or fly or whatever. But then I'd also want to have like a clear tunnel as well, where almost like a hamster tunnel where you could see through it, where it's just like a plastic thing or so forth, and you can see through it as you drive through it and stuff, as you drive on it and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. No, and that's the idea is you can actually see in that mountain there's a whole hole in there, and that's
Mm-hmm.
done that same way. So I
Yeah.
mean, you can kind of do whatever you want with it in that sense. And so the tools in are very flexible in DCF, and so yeah, it was that look for me this was always frustrating that I couldn't change the map when I was right here.
Yeah.
And so when I was playing Creative Continents. And so that's why in DCF it really became that it was all merged into one. But I kind of agree with you of look, we could have the drone mode back and that way you could use it a little bit more proficiently to build, and then once you build you can go in and still tweak it.
Hmm.
So then it becomes kind of an added feature instead of, something that's limiting something.
I think one thing my brain keeps going back towards is, would it cause errors in the game having that terraforming tool in multiplayer?
Well, I mean, it's not going to cause errors. You just don't see it,
Yeah, you
right?
just
You
won't
don't
see
see
it.
the
So,
changes. You won't see the changes.
all right. So
So,
it won't do any like server errors or anything like that from that part. The person just will randomly start flying through walls and stuff if you built it.
yeah, if there's a wall, and so if you basically, if I'm in here and I change this map in DCF while there's somebody in there, they're not going to see the
Hmm.
change. So they could walk right through whatever you're doing in that sense. Yeah, there's no way to, there's no real way to merge that. No.
Okay.
So. But yeah, like I say, there's DCF also has
What's the
bugs.
main thing that's different between these two? What actually makes it different?
The
Just
two
the way,
games.
yeah, between these two games.
Well, so this game, first off, this game again was mostly human created.
Hmm.
So this is kind of my personal passion project game. And then when I gave up on this because I couldn't get this one to sell at all, then DCF came about. And so this is based on an older version of Unreal. It has older versions of all the different packs, the weather, the water, all of that
Hmm.
stuff is different in there and limited. So when I built this one can't swap out meshes. It's not set up to swap out anything really. So you get what you get is in there. Now it's really open to building in that sense, so it's pretty comparable that way. And you can see this giant world that I made, the grid, back in the day. But DCF is entirely capable of building this and much more, basically. But it's more DCF is an enhancement, right? Like
Yeah.
now you have static meshes that you can change out. You'll eventually be able to change out effects. You'll be able to, have your own characters, this, that, and the other. Plus the AI component too. So Creative Continents has no connection to AI at all, where DCF is entirely connected to AI.
Hmm. So, what main things are you focusing on the DCF at the moment?
So DCF, I think that so like I say, the the big thing is kind of like what we want to do with the core of this thing. Do we want to
Yeah.
move forward to the new version of Unreal? So those are questions that are kind of coming up right now because um, really it's like we're almost done with the AI stuff of on the back end of like this stage, not done with, but we're almost done with this stage of the AI, which means like next week we're back to really squashing out a lot of the bugs and getting everything to stabilize out. And I think that you're going to see that like so tomorrow there's going to be an update, and again not a totally human facing update, but next week's update is going to have a ton of human stuff and squaring things up. And so we're really wanting to take a kind of a step and say, okay, what are the important things to kind of get this game going forward and get people using it? And is the survival game kit holding us back? Because like in the dev community, everybody that uses a survival game kit is accused of being an asset repurposer because that kit everybody uses it, and so that's kind of why I'm looking to get away from it too. But
Well,
mostly it's like, well, I want to I don't want to. I want to open the creativity. I don't want to limit it.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down
Well,
to.
a lot of us as gamers are tired of seeing some games where you could tell they're using the same exact assets. And what I mean by assets on it from that part is not like, oh, it's the same bird in every game type bit. I mean, like, I've seen a game that I really like this one game, but I didn't notice prior that what it was using was in like five other games until I actually played those five other games. And it's where they didn't even change anything else at all. They didn't change one room, two rooms. They didn't change textures or anything. They literally just
Mhm.
copy pasted a building, and you're
Yeah,
playing the entire game in that building. And that we start to see as like laziness and stuff like that. I see.
and
So
I
I'm
agree.
old school with that. Whenever I got assets and everything from that part, or I got other people's copies of the models and stuff like that to put into my maps and so forth when I did Quake 3 and all that, I at least went in and I would edit each file and change it more towards what I'm wanting. Like if I want it to look a little bit more rusty or older or newer or something like that, and make it actually change to where then it is different instead of just a copy paste. Or like with
Right.
the buildings being able to then add damaged doors or put in furniture in different places rather than literally copy paste and the furniture is exactly in the same spot in every game. It's just
Right.
frustrating.
Yeah, and actually in Survival Game Kit, in DCF every so that's another difference between Creative Continents and DCF is Creative Continents was kind of we took the survival game kit and put it directly in there and let
Hmm.
you play with it and you get all the options of it. But yeah, you're right, it's kind of generic. Where DCF, you'll notice that every model in that game has already been swapped out. But the idea of, oh, look, we can swap out these models was not only do we want to swap out the models, but we want to offer the ability for the player to swap out the models.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where DCF is different is that we're looking to give you those templates, but we want you to be able to fill in the details as the player, as opposed to having the dev do it. So again, it's kind of a weird sword because, like I say, people say, "Well, we're an asset flipper," but we're really not. We're trying to flip the asset to the player. We're trying to flip the control to the player. And so, but again, yeah, it comes down to look in uh in Unreal. There's Lyra, which is okay. So Lyra is and this is probably not going to pop up for me. It's probably going to give me an error, but
The more you describe this, the more it comes up to mind as rather than just a game in general, more of a create your own mini game type application.
that's really what it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where it's like, well, should we pull out the survival game and put in and like I said, I keep referring to Lyra, but Lyra is basically Unreal Tournament.
Hmm.
So it's got death matches, it's got capture the flag, it's got survival mode and all of those things with guns and the score trackers and all of that stuff. And so basically the idea is, okay, we could take just so DCF is built in three stages. We have the source project, that's where the engine's built. Then we have the world project, so that's where the entire environment's built, where you can change all that environment. And then we have the playground, and the playground is where the survival game kit sits. But what if we, instead of having the playground be the survival game kit, now the playground becomes a first person shooter type or a
Hmm.
third person shooter type game? So that's where we're kind of jumping back and forth and trying to figure out like how does this fit into the eco sphere the best way so that you get the most out of it that you can play it any way you want to play it. And so that's the survival game kit for me always kind of lended to okay, it's a world and you can survive in there and shoot each other and stuff like that. But for some reason that structure seems to be lacking when players are looking at it.
Yeah.
So and they seem to want it. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. And taking survival game kit out. I mean, to be honest, it's a really good pack, but there is a lot of convoluted stuff on how it's built. So I could see where it would be kind of beneficial to kind of drop out and maybe do something else. And more so, the idea is that look, so so kind of picture this in your head. You have the drone mode that you saw in Creative Continents,
Hmm.
but now you have multiple, right? So you say, okay, well, I want the survival game in my world. So you go do the survival game. But in that same load, you could say, no, I want to do more of an Unreal Tournament type game in my world, and so you load that one. And so that's kind of that's it's possible to have within the same game two modes of play on that same customized map is what I'm saying.
You know, the so I could be wrong on this after speaking with you on and off the air and so forth. But I've heard you say multiple times that the type of game or map that you would like you probably have many others and so forth. But what you brought up repetitively was you would like to have like the ships and stuff and being able to swim in the water and move the ships around in the water and everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would love to see that to where you look at the one specific one that you would actually want to play, a game that you'd want to pop out there and like have that ocean scenery going and the ship battle or something like Waterworld or something like that, and actually see that specifically come out there and have you have your whatever game types or things all set up on the server and being able to join on that and even just play on that and show what other people can do if they put their mind to it on making those things and what this will be capable of doing on that. But I know that's still a lot of things you would still have to add in there first in the
Yeah,
long run before you get there.
I mean, it's so the engine. No, that's the crazy part of this is that the engine's already capable of doing
Yeah.
boats. It's already got buoyancy in it. It's already got a lot of boats in it. You can kind of see some of the screenshots from the original Creative Continents, and you can see that there's whole castles that we built and stuff. And so yeah, this is definitely the same type of thing we could do with DCF. It's more about how do we present it, right? And so
Yeah.
that's where I feel like we're kind of at a preface where we're me and the AI at least are really looking at it and going, okay, what is it that we need to offer people for them to go, oh, I want to play just because they see that one little avenue of play.
Yeah.
And so I think that over the last couple of weeks we've really been chasing the cars and the racing element of the game, and we
Yeah.
put in ramp building and we put in all this stuff, and it's like, oh, okay, I can already see the finish line of the racing type stuff in the survival game mechanism. So yeah, it's a kind of a debate right now because it's like, well, it would be a big backup if we're backing up and trying to kind of take the game mode and make it modular. But
The
is that
only thing
worth
I'm
it?
stalled on that, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. The
No,
only thing
not at
I'm
all.
stalled on that on that racetrack bit is just waiting for those the mechanics to fix on that part as far as being able to drive it around and the character launching and stuff like that.
Right.
Along with the once you get around to the adjustable air for the motorcycles.
Yeah. Yep. 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 Yep.
So for
There's
that part
actually, if
there,
you hit
I
Alt,
see.
you can do tricks on the bike, and
Yeah.
so eventually Alt will be the ability to do that. But,
Okay.
but yeah, like I say, it's all there. And so that's the question is, do we continue on with the survival game stuff, or do we back up and rip that out and then try to go with a more easier creative system? Or that's it. It's just trying to figure out what's going to be the best way to move that forward. Because yeah, we can bring in just there's tons of stuff we can bring in. There's a whole I have whole weapon sets, so we could add whole weapon sets and make it completely, match PUBG if we wanted to, or so that's really and really your broadcasts, which have been super helpful to me, have really kind of spurred that of like, okay, well, maybe we instead of saying it's everything, we need to really define it and say it's this and it can be these things,
Yeah,
but
or
first
just
it needs to
focus
be
on one
that.
thing at a time first and then expand it.
Yeah, yeah. The
Yeah.
question is where do we focus, and then yeah, again, yeah,
Yeah.
it becomes from that. But like I say, yeah, everything is so modular, so that and I came into building this thing of let's give the player every ability to change everything, which we've given a ton of different abilities, so I'm really happy with that. But the problem is now is that okay, now players are like, well, I don't know what to do with it, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't
So
know.
let's say I'm focusing right now on racing, not some racing and some just freestyle driving. I want to create my track. I want to be able to make ramps. I want to be able to make tunnels and stuff, be flexible of what I can make, but then I also want to be able to have spawned vehicles already on the map where they go into this one section like a parking lot bit. They get their race car, then they drive it up to the starting line, and then we do our on your market set go where you have like that traffic light thing, the red, yellow,
Hmm.
green, and all that stuff, and then we just race, and it tracks us as we pass the finish line and so forth, the checkpoint each time of how many laps we have, the time and stuff like that. And then we have all these tunnels to drive through. Just that's just one part itself. And then I forgot what I was about to say. Sorry.
Yeah, so I
See, I
totally
did the
get
same
that.
thing. I went out into a whole nother thing, and it's like, okay, wait, now what?
Yeah, and
But
that's it. That's what happens on a daily basis is
yeah,
oh, racing, and then today it's building, and then tomorrow it's this, and then tomorrow it's that. And
well, it's
everything
always
seems
building,
like
but focusing
yeah,
one section at a time to expand it out to what people can do.
right, exactly. And
And
so that's where it comes down to this game isn't about survival mechanics that you're crafting things.
yeah,
Crafting things is just kind of an annoyance in this game. It's about building the track and having the track be an actual racetrack. And so in that sense there's a lot. So like there's a system called the easy, let's see, it's called the the player easy build system or something like that, and it's the same build system that we have currently, except the difference is yeah, easy player system 2, this is the
mm,
one. It's the same build system as we currently have, except that it's not attached to a survival game, so you don't have to craft, there's no resources, there's none of that stuff. So that in that sense it's maybe this one would be the better way to go. And so you'd have this ability in there, and you don't have, you still have the build ability, and then we use the build ability to expand and be able to build your racetrack like you are now. Those ramps are the same way that eventually you'll build your checkpoints, right? You'll put those checkpoints
yeah.
the same way in, and you can have, driving checkpoints, or you could have running checkpoints, or you could have flying checkpoints just as easily. So so basically the mechanics are all the same, and so that's where our big debate is like, okay, do we switch it so that the building system is no longer a resource based system, because everything in that survival game kit is based around making it resource based, right?
Hmm.
That's this kit. So
What
it's not.
what limits do we have right now as a gamer if we go into your application into digital creative frameworks and we have a map already? What limitations do we have, or what capability do we currently have of creating any type of game type, whether it is racing or sport or anything from that part? Do we have any current values that we can change, making gravity different or anything like that? Do we have any of those abilities at this time, or is that just some type of plans in the future?
Well, okay, so no, right now it's more about having atmospheric control, so you have control over the weather, the sky, the ground,
Mm,
and the buildings and everything in it. Now you can pick up a gun and shoot your friend, but there's no scoreboard.
yeah.
You can get in a car and race your friend, but there's again no scoreboard. So in that scoreboard type thing, that's really where we're at, is like, how do we add that element into the game while leaving the rest of it really open,
Yeah.
so that you would be able to say, I want to play battle royale today, and then the next day I want to, I no, I don't want to do that, I want to do this in the game. So really hoping that it's like, that you're correct in saying that there is currently not like an individual control for that now, but
Hmm.
yes, it's definitely a goal that you would be able to say, you as the player say, this is the type of play I want in my world, that only makes sense to us.
So here's one thing I'm thinking right now. All right, I got my racetrack going and everything, and I have three other people in my server racing with me. We're going through, we're racing. The time charts are up there on the board in the center of the track, and the names and everything as we entered them in there or whichever, and then or at least like the car number or something, or however you'll set to have it set. And then we have a basketball court just one island over, where then three other people are playing basketball, and the scoreboard's kept there. So it's not like a game mode type thing where you're all locked in that section and the whole world is doing their own thing. Is
Right.
that possible?
That's what we want. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we're chasing. We're chasing the ability to put down a basketball court, and when you walk onto that basketball court, whether there's somebody flying and shooting at each other or doing whatever they want to do in the world, you are over at the basketball court and you want to play basketball. So just like in the real world, you just pick up the ball and start playing. That's what we want it to be.
Or just randomly playing with a Star Wars lightsaber like I am right now on camera.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Whatever you want to do in the game is really what you should be doing. So yeah, it's we really want it to. I love the idea of, like, if you walk into a certain area, all of a sudden it turns into kind of a Mortal Kombat area, or you walk into a
Mortal
different area.
Kombat.
But that same character that you've created, that same person that you put your identity in, is now jumping from game to game to game to game.
Hmm.
Is the idea. So, but again, I mean, that's where it's so open, and so yeah, right now it's like, it's really and it's hard because I'm really in a vacuum. I'm really in a silo, to try to get opinions. But like I say, the survival game kit is starting to. I'm starting to look at it and go, well, maybe it's limiting us more than it's giving us abilities.
And
And
I
maybe if we
understand that as
pulled it
well.
out and we kind of set it to the side, maybe we can all of a sudden start bringing in all sorts of crazy other stuff. So
Yeah,
I
just
don't
set
know.
it
I'm
complete.
still
Just where you pick some things that you think's causing some problems, and you're not like getting rid of it altogether, but you're just taking it out of the picture for the time being and putting it aside where you could bring it back in another time. But it's just like troubleshooting in general. You want to limit. You want to take some things out and then see if that's resolving the issue, if that was the problem in the first place, or at least then specialize in what's there from that part, and then maybe bring it back in later. Or maybe, you know what, maybe you decide you didn't need that in the first place and you went too far out with so many other different types of game types that you want to just stick with these five or these six or something. I mean,
right.
that's how games are in general wise with it.
Yeah, and so and you bring up a really good point there. Is like, okay, so uh basically, okay, so we use survival game kit to shell the whole game,
Mm-hmm.
right? So basically the whole game is shelled by the survival game kit. Now there's other things that allow us to do things that survival game kit will never be able to do, but basically when you open the game, it's being run overall by survival game kit. Now what we could do is that shelve survival game kit to the side and build our own infrastructure, and that seems like it's going to take a long time, but actually it's not, because we've already kind of got that built in a couple different things. So basically the idea is, wow, it wouldn't it be possible to say, okay, yeah, we have the survival game kit mode, but now we also have this mode and this mode and this mode, and which one just organically takes off and people like better, and then you can kind of develop from there. But the idea is that if I get out from under survival game kit, then the game on the development side becomes much more open too. So you could have, I could put in a platformer mode. So you could now design a map and then go into that map and it's going to flip sideways and give you a platformer that you
Yeah.
can now create. So you're using the same tools to create the world all the time, but now how you jump in and play with the world can be radically different from session to session. Is the thought.
Hmm.
So so I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of, but again, I'm kind of in a vacuum and a silo. So it seems like this idea is a good idea, but yeah. So it's going to
And
put us back a little bit because
yeah.
probably and we could probably solve a lot of bugs right now if we just keep pushing forward the way that we're going. So what do you do?
Yeah, and please, it's your game, so whatever you want to do with it, do from that part. We're just spitting out things from that part, what we think, and everything
No,
else on it from that part, and
I
it can
really
it can
want
mean
more.
absolutely nothing. I mean, it's just we're just discussing wise on it from there. There's no wrong in it from that part.
No, there really isn't. But
Yeah.
the thing is I really do want to hear what other people want in it because for me, it's like, well, okay, and I've said this from the beginning, the terraforming itself is dramatic enough for me that it's like I can sit in there and play and I mean I'll bear witness to that here. You can see when I'm in digital creative framework how many hours do I have in this thing right now. Like, where does it say that? I know it's told me before. Yeah, 70 hours that I've played on the
Yeah.
compiled version, right? That's not the development time. That doesn't track any of that. That's just me playing. So you can see, and then Creative Continents was 150 hours
Yeah.
that I played on that one. So you can see that the terraforming for me is already compelling enough that it's
Yeah.
like, well, I could sit there on that all day because building my own worlds is super cool to me.
And
So,
that's
so
what I would want you to sell me. I would want you to sell me as a gamer. I would want you to sell me what you see the how you yourself enjoys the game. So that's why I was saying, as far as like with the ships and so forth on it from that part, if that's how you have with the idea wise, build that map and show us how that would work, and how that can be
yeah.
exciting, and other people do be able to do so as well. So it's that example of what you would want to see within this game, rather than just say, "Hey, do everything," but start off here saying, start with this. Here's what you can do. Here's what I did. Here's what you could do if you wanted to, or you can do more. But what would you show us as an example of what you've done on this, of anything gameplay wise with the map, or at this point are you more just for the fact that you created the scenery and the island wise that you can just wander around?
Well, okay. So yeah, that's so I can pop in here. So this is
And then if we can, only if you wanted to, I would like to only if you wanted to. I would like to go back towards the explosion thing you were talking about, if you wanted to do the go through the explosion graphics that we were discussing in the last stream. If not, that's fine. We can push that to another time.
um yeah, we'll see if I'm kind of running out of time,
Oh, not a problem.
but
Not a
yeah, you
problem.
can see so yeah, on this map you see that I've changed all that and so this is the one that I've kind of started to, and there's a big ring around this map. So eventually I want to build a real racetrack and you'll have ramps in there. And so that this one is kind of my answer to trying to do that and give you the ability to show what you can do
Mm-hmm.
in the game from here. And so that's kind of that map right now. But again, that's where I'm kind of in debates right now because, like I say, you could change this that it's more that drone mode from the first game, and that's the creative mode, and then you can come in and play it in a multiple different kind of ways. So
Yeah.
more maybe one that's more focused around the cars and not focused around people. Do you want a track where you don't even get out of the car? Those kind of things make big differences in how the game performs and that type of thing. So that's kind of how I look at that. as for but yeah, it's more about like what does the community want, because it's pretty clear that I don't know what the community wants. So that's kind of my big disconnect with it, is trying to figure out like what people want so that we can get the game to be somewhat successful. Because if it were even a little bit successful, I would be able to kind of multitude all the stuff that's in there, and then instead of saying should I go this way and should I go that way, I could do all of them and see which one works organically,
Hmm.
which is really where I'd like to get with it. But I haven't, yeah, I haven't hit that point for sure.
I do also have some additional feedback that I'll give to you off the air as well, uh, on what we've done with some testing wise, and when I asked around on some as well from that part. But I'll say
Cool.
that off the air.
Okay. Yeah, like I say, it's been a couple weeks where I feel like there's been quite a few outstanding bugs that have been sitting in the game for a little while,
Hmm.
so I'm kind of embarrassed with it right now. But yeah, that's basically yeah, you're absolutely right. I feel like that we're definitely it. So
From what I've looked at with the stream wise and so forth, I think my main thing that I want to start with on this would be stability. That's all.
yeah, absolutely. And really, stability is centered around right now that ragdoll issue.
Hmm.
Hopefully that'll be solved tomorrow. Again, it's I've been fighting that issue so much that I don't necessarily believe that I fixed it yet. Um,
Okay.
but but I'm hoping. And so as soon as the ragdoll issue is solved, then I think that the stability issues will start to resolve themselves a lot more. There's really not that many stability issues besides that ragdoll in there.
Uh, when I was doing I think I was live when I did it. When I was doing the terrain and placing things down, I remember telling you about how I think I gave you the error message as well. But it was growing out the terrain, and I was changing it over to take it away, and then instead all it would do, or I changed the format or so forth, and it still acted like it was the prior one that I selected, the prior terrain. So instead of
Right.
putting the blocks out there, it was doing the prior one. Do you know what that was?
I'd have to take a little bit deeper look into it, but most
Okay.
likely it's going to be because on the terraforming tool there's multiple materials that you can use, but if you're on a certain type of terraforming tool, then that's not currently set up correctly. And
Okay.
so like if you're square, you only have ocean bottom, and ocean bottom is not uh accessible landscape, right?
Mm-hmm.
So normally you can't draw with the ocean bottom. You can, but and so eventually that'll all change. So when you put in a square, you'll get the square of the terrain that you wanted or that you asked for.
But when I had the problem, it was just simply changing the second option as far as because I think I had gravel selected. It was the second option as far as the your three different tool types. What was it? Smooth,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know what I'm talking about, those three different from
Mm-hmm.
that part. And when I changed that, it just didn't change over at all, and it just acted like it was still there. And then I got that error message for it where it crashed from that part. But when I restarted the game, it worked fine. And I did the
Yeah.
same exact thing, same exact steps, and it worked with no problem.
Yeah, and that could be some of the voxel inconsistency, because sometimes voxel can be kind of hokey. So
Uh,
that's there's um there's a new system in
Oh, I've been
Unreal that's
playing with it, so I've been testing it.
yeah, there's a new system in Unreal that's using procedural generation for landscape manipulation that might be something that I want to get into in the future, because it
Okay.
definitely looks like it's going to be more stable than voxel. But again, it's yeah, it's more about at this point we've got so many different options and so many different ways to go. It's more about finding what's going to get us a little bit of success so that we can really kind of tap into it and start moving really forward with everything else, if that makes sense.
So right now, this is a terrain creation, land creation wise environment with the option of water, not water, and you're able to create some crafting things like build a basic house and stuff. You can spawn cars and weapons and things, and just sort of explore around your land. But uh, you have ideas to expand it even more for from that part. It's just processing. Please
Yeah.
wait. You still got to go through and progress wise with it.
Well, and yeah, it's only me.
Yeah,
Two, it's I'm in a vacuum, so I haven't had much success with the games. So I'm not really talking to a lot of other gamers about it, and so I think that as I've certainly noticed that as I've done these streams with you, that my ideas are starting to peak in different ways and
mm,
starting to go different ways, and so I really think that yeah, it's that, but the thing is that the game mode is just as modular as saying, okay, I want to change the house or I want to change the land. Unreal's game mode ability is just as modular. So I'm starting to go, well, what if we offered multiple game modes? And that
yeah.
way, if you want to build a map or, and then you have the survival too and stuff like that. But then it comes down to okay, but then you have a survival game that's not very stable right now, and you're trying to open it up to something else again, and so I'm constantly second guessing myself too to try to figure out the best way forward. But again, I know what it comes down to is look, if I can get just a little bit of success on this game, it's going to get enough money in the door because there's really
Yeah.
no debt here.
Even just
That
one
that
game type at a time would really help with this. Like if you focused
and
on just one game type. Let's say you just want to do basketball.
Well, and honestly, that's the survival game.
Yeah,
The survival game is the one game type that
yeah,
I chose to focus on. It's a very broad game type, and
yeah.
it's constantly being led into, but I want this in the game, and I want this in the game, and I want that in the game. Everybody that sits down with this game immediately jumps on. There's debug text on the screen. There's and it's like
That's what
okay,
they're looking for. They notice that and they
I
bug
get
bug
it.
bug
I
bug.
get it. I totally get that. But it's like, okay, I'm the developer. I promise you, I know that those things are popping
Yeah,
up. And the minute I see it, it's I know where I'm turning it off and on and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I get that part of it. But at the same time, it's like, okay, but I when people sat first played Minecraft, they gave it that chance of look at how creative you can be with this. And for some reason with DCF, they never give it that. They only want it to be locked in immediately into whatever game type that they're kind of
Yeah.
focusing for it, whether
So
that be racing or survival or, you know,
well, I started out
battle
with this of
royale.
how you were presenting it and so forth to me, where as far as like being able to plant stuff, farm stuff, the survival thing, and everything from that part. But then when I look at it, the one thing it's missing from that then is the values of actually saying, "Hey, I'm hungry," or you need, or like the bars, you need to eat by this time frame, or you need this and this status for these items in order to make this, or how
Right.
long it's going to take for this to grow and everything. So if you're going for the survival part, then that, as a gamer, that's what I look for on it from that part. But I don't
You're
see that
looking
at
for
this
the
time.
resource management because
Yeah,
that's what a survival game is. It's not
yeah,
really a survival game, it's resource management, right?
yeah,
And eventually you build enough resources that you can build a kingdom out of the game. Well, okay, I completely get that, but the problem is that DCF is the minute that you put that on DCF, then all of the creativity that's supposed to be in DCF gets limited.
yeah. So then
And
that's where the game type. That's where you put it down almost like a game type wise, where it has a template already with those values for the
right,
server.
right. And I think that in initially with DCF, I had said, "Oh, I want terraforming inside the game," and so I built it with that survival game mechanism in my mind of, "Oh, there's a building plan, and you build a house with the building plan, and now you have a terraformer, and now you can modify the ground with the terraformer." But from the engine standpoint, from the actual game standpoint, that's just a false limitation that's being placed over the top of the system that's already working.
Yeah,
So at what point do we say, okay, let's break, or is it a good idea to say, let's break from the limitations entirely and set them aside and then build the system so that it can run on its own creatively and then you can play that system on it, and you can play this system on it, and you can play this system on it. So in theory, you could have, 4 or 5 different game types all in the same game. So that's where I'm leaning right now. But then if we do that, it backs everything up again, right? Because
Hmm.
it's going to take a couple weeks before all these new types of systems start rolling out and working correctly. And so yeah, it just comes down to that. If I had a little bit of success behind the game and people participating in the game, then this would move a lot faster and probably would have already been done, to be super honest.
Yeah. Well, I do still have some plans as well on some events and so forth. I didn't get any hits on on the event before my vacation. I did, so I'm just coming back in with everything, getting caught up and so forth. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna try seeing if we can do another event thing again in our community to see if others would want to play it wise and so forth. But the main thing that comes up with that then is the stability.
Yeah, and like I say, so just to give an update on that, tomorrow there's a release that'll happen. I'm not 100% sure that that's going to bring stability back, but over by next week Friday, I'm pretty confident in saying that the release that comes out then will be much more stable, and kind of, much more in the idea of how are we moving forward. So I really, by next week, I'd like to see the flying system so you could actually
Mm.
use the flying stuff. And then, also on top of that, stability is back, because really, it's the cars that have caused the stability to go all wonky.
Yeah.
If you don't pull the cars out, the game is very stable. But the minute you pull the cars out, everything goes to crap.
Can
So
you
it's,
spawn cars on the map? But so like if you load up a map already, can you
Mhm.
have car spawns already there? So when you load it up, it's
Yeah,
already
so
there.
like if you build a ramp right now,
Mm-hmm.
you would have, if you build a ramp, that ramp is saved, right? Well, the
Yeah.
the cars right now, the cars you have to pull in through that interaction menu, but you'll eventually have a building piece where you could put a car down, and
Okay.
every time you come in the game, the car will show up where you saved it.
So like if I did the racetrack one or so forth, I'd want to have cars parked in like a section
Right.
wise for the parking spot, so they just pick their cars and then go up to
Hmm.
the starting line and stuff like that. Or
Exactly. Yep.
or uh, or like let's say if you went further into details and designs of being able to build houses and garages and stuff like that, I'd want to have cars in the garage and stuff and be able to go all around that and
Yep.
have the scenery wise, which of course we do understand though would only be on that one person's hosted server and not on the actual map you download.
Right. Yeah. The geometry is kept on a separate save file than or the geography than the actual architecture
Mhm.
of the map. So anything that's built on there is kept on a local save. You can share that save, so other people can take that save and duplicate it that way. But yeah, if you like build a giant castle on a map, on a custom map, they can go get that custom map, but unless you give them permission to have that castle, they can't have it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it breaks down that way. Now, eventually, you'll have the ability to save blueprints of architecture, so you could walk up to a castle and say, "I want to save this to workshop," and you could have that whole castle saved on workshop. So instead of building individual pieces, you just walk in your world and say, "I want that castle here." Boom,
Yeah.
and it pops up. So again, it's all that open creativity, but that's where lately we're just kind of stuck in the idea of, do we when it, and it's kind of at this point, it's a when, not if, but when do we pull that game mode out and not make it the primary game mode, and give you the ability to kind of jump from game mode to game mode to game mode on your custom map.
So as a gamer, from what I'm hearing from you and what I've seen and everything else on it from that part, what I think this is when I look at it is you create your own map, your own island or so forth from that part, and then from that part you share it where you then go to play, and then you can explore around it together and do other things on it from that part, or have it as your own little sandbox that to play in, that other people can join on in and do things, but then you plan to expand that out to do others. But if I'm wrong on that, correct me right now.
Well, no,
That's how I'm
okay,
seeing
so
it presented to an extent.
that's the basic concept, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is that I have been locked into the idea of having it as a survival game
Hmm.
where I'm starting to think, wait a second, what if we, like you said, okay, so what you brought up about, hey, I really want a creative mode with the drone where I don't have the guy in the picture and I don't have any of that stuff. I just want to deal with the land.
Yeah.
And here I'm thinking to myself, and as you saw on Creative Continents, it's like I'm thinking to myself, well, I built that. I know exactly how to make that for you, and so
And then export
that's
that
where
map
it
to then
came
do the
from.
playing
Is
part.
like
Yeah.
exactly no, but now if you have that map and you have a creative mode to make the map right now,
Hmm.
so now do you is the survival game really the best way to go forward, or do you want it so yeah, I want to be able to build, but I want it more race focused, or I want this or I want that. So
Yeah,
again,
everyone has different likes and hobbies and stuff like that, and they may want to do something completely different wise with it, and be able to
right,
just expand out. And that isn't I'm not much of a fan of that game, but isn't that somewhat what Roblox is?
kind of, yeah. I mean, in that sense, I think so. I mean, I don't play roadblocks, but
Yeah, I don't
from
either.
what I
But I hear
from
they
what I've
create a lot of
heard,
games off of, and little mini
yeah,
games in
but
there and stuff like that, where they have the
exactly, and
platform thing. Yeah,
that's kind of and Unreal Create or Fortnite Creative Mode is basically that too, right?
yeah.
It's the same thing. It's just that here is it's the engine can do it very easily, and the games out there already show that there's tons of games out there that show that the engines can do this stuff very easily. But what it comes down to is that nobody's given the player the control that you have, like in a game like Minecraft, where you can make the world and then everybody comes back into that world and plays in that world. And that's really what I wanted to do with high fidelity on Unreal, and not blocks. You know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea behind it. Now, the idea is that hopefully you'd have every type of gameplay in that game, whether that be a fighting game, a racing game, or survival game, or any type of thing. Because it really should, because the engine has those options, then we should be able to pass those options on to the player.
But
That's
like
the,
I said on
the
that as well, though, that is that's great and everything on it from that part of having all these things, but even just one at a time would be fine. Showing the progression wise on it from that part, focusing on adding one game type at a time or so forth.
Right, right. And I think that I thought I was doing that with the survival game, but the problem with the survival game is that the survival game itself is so open that now you're again, what does it do? And it's like it does everything, right?
And
Like I mean, let's be honest. Can you not play a survival, or can you not play a battle royale with 8 people on the server without the tracker? I mean, you can just shoot each other until the
yeah.
last one's standing. I mean, it's the
Well, they
game's
spawn back
capable of
though.
doing it. It just doesn't track it. So
Yeah.
that's exactly. But it's. I'm seeing that we need to put guardrails on, but now I'm trying to figure out like what are the best guardrails to put on.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I look at it.
Hey,
Because yeah, from my instance, it's like, look, we can swap out static meshes, we can swap out material files, um, soon, and from that point, you'll be able to change every aspect of the game. So if you
mm,
want, snowy terrain and you want 20 different kinds of snowy terrain, you'll be able to do that. If if you want cartoony stuff, you'll be able to do that. So that's where
yeah.
I'm looking at it going, well, okay, but yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think that the guardrails is really where I have to start to focus and figure out where we're moving first.
But I would even be okay with this game as a survivor mode on it from that part. If the whole game was just survival, that's fine as long as you have some type of objectives wise with it. But then when I think survival, I think straight to resources, like a lot of others do on it from that part. And I didn't see that in this game as far as resources and everything are concerned, even though the values can be set to it. So that's why
Yeah,
I had an issue of seeing it as a survival game. Yes, you could create crops and stuff, but there was no value to doing so.
exactly. Exactly. And that's it. It's built as an open framework to give people the ability to do that, but you're right. People need an instruction. They need a
Yeah,
guardrail to say this is what you're building. You're building a racetrack. You're surviving
yeah,
this thing. And as I look at the survival mechanism, I go, well, okay, wait, this isn't really what I wanted to do with it. I wanted it to be more of an action fun type game. So it wasn't the survival was a step towards the overarching structure, but now the overarching structure could work without the survival game being the center point. And so that's where I'm kind of where at what point do we split and allow it that if you want to play a survival game, you click on a button that literally says put me in my world in a survival game.
yeah.
That's what I'm looking towards doing now, as opposed to before it was you're in a survival game and we're trying to open up all the options to play all the other stuff.
Yeah, so just select one mode or the other for from that part. It does sound like the main thing on this, and again, you do it however you want. But I'm just speaking out loud and giving uh
All your
my
feedback,
thought process
super,
when I see it
super.
and everything from that
Hey,
part.
I'll say
So
this: all your feedback has been super constructive and has been very, very welcome.
yeah, a lot of it just seems like just need to step back a little bit first and then go back forward. Does that
To
make
be
sense?
honest, that's absolutely where I'm at right now. Is at that step back stage of like, okay, if I step back, what's important? Well, okay, building a house in the world, that's important, but can we do that without the survival game kit? Absolutely.
Yeah,
Is shooting a gun in the game important? Yes. Okay, but and there here's a conundrum. Can I do that? Yes, there's about 100 different ways to do that, but now how do we do that, right? How do
yeah.
we incorporate damage? How do we do that? So that's where it comes back into the play, but again, yeah, I'm really at the point where it's like, well, I think this survival game kit is starting to become more of a limit to us
Yeah.
than a help.
And you have me labeled. I'm not saying this as a bad thing or anything, but you have me labeled sort of as battle royale and everything from that part. And looking at this game, I don't look at it as if I have to have it as battle royale. I like every game for its own way and so forth, and I want difference. I want uh, different types of games. Maybe I don't want to play battle royale right now. Maybe I just
Well, and
want to do a
that's it.
racing game
It
or so forth. And
let
so,
let's be honest. Is like really, DCF really has the ability to. Okay, so I look at it this way: it's a base, right? This is
yeah,
a foundation, and it's giving players a foundation that they've never had before because it's a player's foundation that's saying, let's make it so that everybody can go come in here and play what they want to play. And so, yeah, maybe the old battle royale idea is kind of dated and it won't work with our system. And we got to come up with something that's a little bit better, a little bit slicker. And so I think that that's it, right? Is DCF, in my opinion, is like, okay, for the players, this is the place that you guys could all come and have actual effect on what's going to happen with this game.
mhm.
And I know we never really got into the fires, and I'm going to have to take off.
No, that's okay.
But basically, the idea was to show you, look, I have thousands of fire here, and it's up to the gamer to decide. Oh, we should have that one, and then within a week, you're going to see it in the system. So, how do we as gamers look at this and say, instead of looking at this as, oh, this could be a game or it could be this, it could be that, it's look at this and say, this has the potential to answer all the little dreams that you had when you were a kid and you were playing games and you said, I want to make a game like this. I want to make a game like this. DCF has the potential to be able to offer all of those things. So how do we best do it? And it comes down to, by it being just me developing it, I'm never going to find that path. I really need to get out to enough people now, where enough people are coming in and coming in with ideas that where you say, I don't want a battle royale. I want this. I want that. I want that. And within a conversation of 10 people, all of a sudden you have this new mode that's come out, and you come to me and say, well, could we do it like that? And oh, yeah, let me try that. Blah, 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 blah. It's out in a week. And you, as the gamers, are the ones that mold and send this thing forward. I, 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 I built the foundation, but this foundation can go anywhere,
Yeah.
and I really would love to see where gamers want it to go.
Yeah, but I mean, just starting it as the sandbox itself, where there's little things you can do in there, such as the racing or little sports games and so forth like that. For from there, could be a complete start wise rather than a full on game type thing. You know what I mean?
Right, right,
Just a regular
right.
sandbox wise
Absolutely.
of doing so. But then
I,
there's still
I,
some
I
values in
agree.
there calculating things.
Right. Like, can you build in? Can you take the current build system and build a soccer field, and then when you walk on the soccer field, you start to play soccer? That that's how it should be,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, and that's real simple because if you have something in there like a soccer goal net or so forth, it just simply sees the ball go behind that line, and as soon as it goes behind the line, the score goes up, and there you go.
Yep,
Doesn't
exactly.
have it doesn't have to be anything major as far as any other stats or anything like that. Just your regular score stuff.
Right. But you should be able to walk up in the game and build the soccer field and then now play soccer on it.
Yeah, and then
That's how I
maybe a
that's how I
reset button for the
see it.
score. Yeah, and then
Right,
maybe a reset
exactly.
button for the score or something. That's
Yeah,
about it.
literally walk up to the score sign and hit reset.
Although we all know we have that one friend that's gonna come by and say, "Hey, who's winning? It's a tie game where it's sudden death or something like that." Oh, hey, what does this do? And then they reset the score. You motherfucker!
It, listen, if we're talking about soccer, the score is going to be 0-0 all the time anyway. No, but like I say, yeah, you absolutely, absolutely. The idea is not. In my idea, it was always not, let's put the game in there and put guardrails on them. It was, let them put the game in there and the guardrails on themselves. So if
Yeah,
they want to have a soccer field in their world, they play soccer. But if somebody doesn't want to have a soccer field in their world, then soccer's really not available.
yeah,
Does that make sense? And that's
yeah.
kind of how I wanted it to be. So again, but does the survival game have anything to do with that? No, because it's really the building system that would allow you to put the soccer field down. And then
And
once the building system has put the soccer field down, the soccer field handles how the soccer field is. So
with
so
that, you really
that's
just
where
need
I'm
some
getting
type
to
of
the point of with the survival game kit right now, it's probably, because it's kind of complicated and convoluted, it's probably holding people back from playing at speed.
yeah.
And that's what I worry.
And the sport thing, all you really need is just each type of net or so forth, and then you can maybe an item that you can place on that net at a certain mark that you can set in a value, or if you have it as a model set already by default, you just have one for each sport in there, and then they just place it wherever, and there you go. I mean,
Yep.
you can keep it really simple. It doesn't have to be completely all detailed in sports and everything like that. Just a real little
No,
quick mini game.
no, no. You literally spawn the ball on the field, and if the ball crosses this line, it adds this many points
Yeah,
to the scoreboard.
not asking for
It's
anything
not it's not
over
difficult at
detailed or
all.
anything, just basic. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's more about where that's where it's coming, is like, how do I look at, so there's a conundrum, right? Because
Mhm.
I need to get the game to be successful so that enough people buy it, so that I have enough money to be able to continue to buy equipment and buy packs and get everything in there. But at the same time, right now, what's causing the game to stall out is there's just too much in it. There's
Yeah.
just too much stuff there already.
I see it as
Whereas
more
if
of a sandbox game,
right,
but I
right,
don't see it listed in Steam at all right now as sandbox.
it's yeah, you basically have to pull teeth to find it on Steam. They don't uh, they don't make it easy for anybody to find that game. You have to spell
No,
it
no,
out
no,
as
no.
well.
I mean, when I look on your game, when I look at your game, and I look at the categories wise for it, what it classifies as, I do not see
Um,
sandbox there at all.
yeah, I mean, a lot of those were set. First off, so Steam and DCF did not get along. We presented to Steam in November. With all our other games with Balls and Creative Continents, we were able to get through the process within a week.
Mm-hmm.
With DCF, they saw what it was pretty quickly, and they tried to prevent it from coming out to the point where we didn't release till January 27th. So it was a fight to get Steam to
Of
allow
this
us
year?
on the thing. Yes.
Okay.
So Steam really did not want to put this game out. They really did not want it out there. And so there's no promotion for us. Our categories are messed up. Everything else is messed up because and yeah, I mean I don't mean to say it that way, but yeah, it's I feel like somebody at Epic or somebody somewhere saw this game and went, "Okay, wait a second. If this game gets popular, it's going to break open every other game and we're not going to be able to sell skins anymore. We're not going to be able to do that because people will just go, well, I'll just go play it in DCF." And that's, yeah, I
Well,
feel like that's still something that's working against us quite a bit. So, like I say, I look at my Steam numbers, and on my old games, they used to help and promote a little bit, and this one, it feels like they're actively working to
yeah.
shut it down.
Well, we here as gamers are here. You just need to help guide us as what to expect from this game. So if it's possible to clean up in the category search there in the Steam, I think I can even suggest some in there in the tags myself via the
Yeah,
account where I could just put this says enter a tag or so forth. I can start entering some things in there as well. But just try to help us know what to expect of the game itself rather than like if it's sandbox, all right, we're going to look at it as sandbox, but like I said, I don't even see it in there at all. I see
right.
PvP, I see life sim, I see casual, I see combat, I do see open world, I see multiplayer, single player, local, racing, indie. So I see racing, but like when I look at the game, I currently don't see racing,
Right, right,
but I
right,
do see what it can be for racing.
right. Exactly. So that's where I need to be more clear, and I feel like we need to pull out that creative mode and show, look, you can have the creative mode, and now you can do a survival game mode, or now you can do
Yeah,
a little bit more rigid this mode or that mode or that mode. That's kind of that's kind of where I'm leaning, and the conversation I've had with you today certainly pushes me more
yeah.
towards that philosophy behind it. And yeah, absolutely.
And I
I
could be
mean,
wrong here and there.
feedback
I'm
on
simply there
if
just trying to share
if
and
somebody says, "Hey, put this on your Steam, it'll describe it better," or you're not tagged here or you're not tagged there, please let me know. I'm happy to try to get those things done. There's only me, so it takes a little while to get anything done, but
yeah.
yeah, I'll definitely try.
I think in this stream, while you told us which plans you had with the game, development wise, and everything else on that part, I think the main thing I also wanted to do for me and for the viewers is to understand what this game is and what it's supposed to be, rather than what we think it is already for it from that part, and what to expect from it on there, and be more directed wise with it, so that the game is actually uh promoted to us properly on it from that part, instead of just saying, oh no, this game was supposed to be survival, and you gotta like feed this, and you have to have all these resources and everything, but when I went to that, I didn't see it at all, so I'm not going to play this, things like that. So
Yeah,
it's just knowing what
yeah,
to expect when you go into the game, because if you're expecting survival and with resources and everything, we didn't see that. And so
right.
it's all about knowing what to see from the game.
Right.
how it's
Yeah.
presented to us,
And
which isn't
and
all your
again,
fault
it's
either. It's also however it shows up on Steam from the categories and stuff, like you were saying. So we can even
yeah,
help as gamers and clean that up some in the community.
absolutely, absolutely. Like I say, it's a we're it feels like in a lot of this development journey, I feel like I've been working against players and trying to scream at them like, "Hey, dude, I'm trying to open this for you guys," but it's not something that seems to come across.
You
But
just
yeah,
can't
in the
please
end,
everybody, so just try to do something basic wise and then expand from there.
right, right. And that's not, it's certainly, if you look at the system, it's certainly not where it came from. It
Yeah.
came from the idea of how do we open everything up, and I really feel like we're really close to being able to get that and get it all stabilized out. But now as I look at it, it's like, okay, now how do we really add those game types? How do we
Hmm.
add those things? Because for me, it's a virtual world simulator, right? It's your world and you can have it there. And eventually I wanted it so that if you wanted to drop a dragon into your world that was messing with you all the time, you could have a dragon in there. But if you didn't want the dragon, you didn't have to have the dragon. So that was kind of the always the thought behind it. But and then the survival game kit, because it allowed for a lot of the multiplayer stuff with Steam and stuff like that that I didn't know how to do earlier in the development, that became the shell that everything sat under. And now I'm looking at, well, how do I throw that shell off and go back to that open nature?
Now watch somebody create a map with the map name Train Your Dragon How.
Mhm. 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 Mhm.
I know you said a few times you were running short on time. Do you need to go? Are we good or?
I do, yeah, I do need to head out. So, but again, thanks so much for taking the time today to look at my stuff. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, not a problem. And I hope that was okay with parts of this conversation. But all of it was on the air, but some certain parts of the conversation on the air wise is I wanted to try to see about getting other people's opinion on it from that part as well, and go on all out on it from that part. But
I really
it's been a
don't
slow
think that
day,
I.
so
It comes down to this, Wiz. I cannot make this thing successful on my own.
yeah,
That's very pointed. Like it's a pretty cool system. You've played with it. You
yeah,
understand that there's more potential here than we've seen in many game engines in the last 20 years.
yeah.
It's a matter of now we as the gamers have to decide where this thing is going to go, and because that's what it's built to do. It's not it's it's you have in Unreal, you have the Unreal Engine, and then you have Fortnite and all these games that sit on top of it. And in Ubisoft, they have an engine that's very similar to Unreal. I won't say, but anyway. Ubisoft has their games sitting on top of their engine. Rockstar has their games sitting on top of their engine, right? The RD2 engine. DCF is hoping to be the engine for the gamers, so not for the AAA studio, but you in your house and that stuff should look at DCF and say, "That's our engine."
My brain keeps
That's
thinking old school with config files for the game type stuff.
exactly, but that's exactly. I mean, okay, it's not config files anymore, but
Hey,
it would
don't
definitely
make me feel
it would
old, all right?
definitely but it would definitely be in that same vein, right? The idea is that the system is so open that modders can come in there and create entire game types, not just the world that you're playing in, not just that, but then also game types and this and that and that, so that it's constantly modified and added to. And so you would say, look, you open up DCF, and that's where the map system is and the environment system is. But I happen to play Josh's first person shooter mod, and that's the type of game I'm playing on that map inside DCF. So again, when Rockstar builds a new game, they don't build a new engine. They
Yeah.
take RD2 and they stack a new game on top of it. And and Ubisoft and Fortnite and all the other major games out there operate the exact same way. They have an engine and they stack a game as a layer on top of it. I am we now DCF now gives the gamer that engine. And now the gamers and the modders can stack the game on top of it. That's the idea. But
Our,
can't do
oh,
it alone. At a certain point, I'm going to run out of ideas. So,
yeah. Well, you know, honestly, in some cases, I think that's a good idea of running out of ideas because then just staying plane wise with it to start, I think is what looks to be best with this one. But again, however you want to
I
do
don't
so.
think
So
that we would have been able to get to where we have with DCF if I wouldn't have had the wherewithal to say, okay, you know what, I'm not going to worry about everybody telling me you need to make it this way and you need to make it that way. I'm going to worry about I want the sun to come up from the horizon and I
yeah,
want the player to be able to control that sun.
yeah.
That's where my focus was. But now we're beyond that and we're into the play end of it. But look, I'm a long time gamer and I like last night I just picked up the new Diablo and I've been messing with that and it's like I I love Diablo, so top down perspective is certainly something that's now all of a sudden brewing in my head. But the point is that DCF with the right time, with the right effort, would be able to create that for the player. And you could have a Diablo game on your own custom maps and stuff like that.
What are you talking about, Diablo 4? That's
Yeah.
2023. That's old school already.
Well, I move slower than other people. No, I gaming wise, I just don't have a ton of time, so I move through games a little slower than other
Yeah, we
people.
won't talk about how many hours I streamed yesterday. 20.
Mm-hmm.
17
Yeah,
hours for one game.
and well, and honestly, over the last couple months, I've really had to start to force myself back into playing because I've been developing so much that that's starting to destroy my play. And
Yeah,
so,
and
and
sometimes you want to come back to that to be able to get the feel of you playing it as
you
well.
have
So,
to understand.
and
Yeah,
different
exactly.
types of games, not just yours.
Exactly, exactly.
So,
You get so locked into your physics and your mentality when you're developing a game
yeah.
that it's sometimes then all of a sudden all those options don't appear in your thoughts again. And so yeah, again, the idea of DCF is the same way that Ubisoft, the same way that Unreal, the same way that Rockstar has a base engine that they can build on. I want to give the base engine to the people and let the people build on it. That's my concept behind the game.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and go on a commercial break here and wrap this part of the stream up. I thank you for coming in here, Orange, and discussing the game and the development plans and ideas and stuff like that on the game for the DCF. And hope to see you again shortly.
Talk to you soon, man.
All right. Later, bud.